control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are live on the night. It's February the 8th. This is not recorded. This is live. Special thanks to the Freaky Friday crew. Great show. As always, great discussions, great viewpoints. Really, really interesting. It's always so thought-provoking, and you guys do a phenomenal job. So it's a real pleasure, as always, to be right on your tail following you out. So thanks for being here, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful night. Lots of things going on in the world, but it's glad we can all come together and celebrate Friday. Hope you guys are having a great Friday, and your weekend is now commencing. Unless you work weekends. There's nothing I can do about that. But hope everything's looking good in your world. It's getting a little cold, a little snowy up here again. Ready for spring any moment now. Where is global warming? Because I'm kind of ready for it. No, that's not very nice. That's not very nice. But anyway, hope you guys are doing great. It's Friday night. And on Fridays and Saturdays on the Paranormal Portal, the phone lines are always open. There's 7 days a week at 7 p.m. Pacific time. There's always a portal going on. It's just the way I roll. But the phones will be going on throughout the night. So if you want to call in and be a part of the show, that would be fantastic. It'd be great to hear from you. The phone number for the show is 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998. And if you're calling from the UK across the pond, let me get to that number. It's like 15 digits. It's way more than my meager head can remember. But the UK number, ladies and gentlemen, is 44203-393-2871. Again, 44203-393-2871. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into some discussion about UFOs and aliens and all of that stuff. I've got several things pulled up for you guys to discuss on the show. And I know that there's a lot of people. I think the numbers of people that are accepting of the idea that there is intelligent life, not only in the universe, but that it is also participating and visiting us here on Earth. And many people are waiting for disclosure. And I think that's a really powerful thing and will be a really powerful thing. I don't think that people require disclosure from the U.S. government in order to believe in it. It may, it will certainly turn some of the skeptics around in their thinking if there's an official statement as to the fact. But for most of us that are already on board with the idea that there are these intelligent beings from light years away that are hanging out here on Earth, I think for most of us, we just want to see what has the government found, or what are they going to release that they found if they do disclose. I don't ever labor under the illusion that all of a sudden it'll be an open book and say, hey, come on over to Washington, we'll show you everything. We're never going to know everything that they may have on the subject, and especially in regards to advanced technologies and such, like that. But I'm among those that believe that perhaps, some of the technologies we have today were filtered down from those things, such as the Roswell incident and many other interactions and potentially interactions with these alien beings with our government. I mean, perhaps they have been feeding us bits of technology and cooperation for something. I don't know what they want. I don't know necessarily why they would be here. I would hope that they're here in a altruistic way. I hope that they are indeed more evolved and enlightened beings than than we are. I'm hoping it's not like Star Wars where a Star Destroyer is going to pull up and it's a bunch of force Sith jumping out with lightsabers, but you know what I mean. I hope that if they are indeed as advanced as they would have to be to get here, that they have good intentions and they're here as maybe a big brother kind of thing, or big uncle aunt kind of thing, that they're going to help us along on the rest of our journey. Now, there are many people that believe they've been here forever, and I also give that a lot of credence. I think there's something to that. Now, did they actually seed what is known as the human race? Were they responsible for this development of an organism that by itself doesn't seem to have any of the natural abilities to survive? Like everything else on the earth has has adaptations and abilities, that really suit them for their environment. But we're born absolutely helpless, naked. We have no tools or things on our own except for our ability to think. And of course, was it the Anunnaki that came down and decided they wanted a slave race, as is a real popular belief? And so they took these hominid creatures and they brought them in and they spliced in DNA and mixed it up and popped it in the microwave, and boom, human beings were born onto the face of the earth. Interesting thought. Now there is a lot of question as to how did we come to be. We can see that we have similarities genetically with a lot of primates and such, and very, very closely related. But we also have a lot of similarities with weeds and stuff too, genetically. The genetic building blocks of this planet are by and large pretty similar. And if we have a lot in common with so many different things, like everything else still has the same genetic design, how did we come to be? How did we end up becoming and being so absolutely helpless? In terms of the natural world, in terms of strength, we're weak. In terms of speed, we are slow. In terms of agility and such, we are pretty low on the totem poles there. And the only thing that we actually excel at is community and our development of technology. And, so it does seem to me very odd that such a helpless race could not only exist here, but could survive and thrive and develop massive civilizations, massive technologies on our own. It just doesn't seem possible. Now, the alien astronaut theory, of course, tells us or implies that they were here helping us all along. They were here, building things, showing us how to build, showing us things like perhaps mathematics, perhaps technologies, farming, and how to build cities and architecture and such. I don't mean to diminish the wonder and fantastic strides that human beings have made, and I'm not trying to imply that, but I still don't necessarily understand how we crawled out of the primordial soup and managed to kind of rule the world. It just doesn't seem like the odds. It seems like the odds would have been stacked against us in a horrible way, but somehow we've done it. We've managed to conquer a lot of the world, and I don't mean that always in a good way either. I think that we've done a terrible job, by and large, of how we've managed the world and its resources and stuff. But because we have this thing called greed, and that is the poison of all things. So that's going to be our discussions for tonight. And but before we go too far, I wanted to share. I got a listener email in just a little while ago. It was a perfect timing, really. And well, at least I saw it a little while ago. But it's from a regular listener to our YouTube channel, and very wonderful guy who has contributed so much through the time that he's been involved in the show. And I'm sorry, bro, I can't pull that together now. But if you'd like to call in, you're always welcome. But I just got a message from Mr. Naysay. It'd be great to hear from him. It's always a pleasure to hear what he has to say. But where was I? Oh, my MCAT submitted this, and one thing about MCAT is he has a regular job, but he's also a paranormal investigator and has run his own paranormal groups. But he was doing an EVP session. Now he is an over the road long haul trucker, and so he's constantly on the road, but he still squeezes in some investigations on his journeys, which is awesome. And tonight he sent us an EVP that he collected. And let me get the website, or let me get the email up here, and I'll read you the background to what I'm going to share with you in just a few moments here. But he says, I was running an EVP experiment using 1 and 2 syllable words and recorded a loud exhale between 2 of the words. The idea behind the experiment is to record single words and then play them back while recording an EVP session. I'm going to try this without being in the room, a kind of remote EVP setup. Very cool. All right, so he did send us a sound file, and I got to tell you, the not only is it an exhale, but it has a really weird audio dynamic to it that I wouldn't have expected. So it has a different kind of tone to it, I think, anyway. And you guys will have to let me know what you think, but I'm going to play it for you now. And want to hear it? Here you go.
Live. Year.
Okay, and that was it. You hear that exhale after the word live.
Live. Year.
Now, something about that, the tonality of that is really bizarre to me, and it's like, I don't know if it's an exhale, like a, or if it's like a, like some kind of almost like a motion sound, or something to that effect. It's got this dynamic of like that, not the whistle part, obviously, but it is an odd sound. And of course, I don't believe he would be submitting this if he wasn't absolutely sure of his findings. So I definitely believe he caught something anomalous, and I'll play it for you guys again. Again, it's between the 2 words live and year. I think it was year. It was or dream. Let me look at his notes here. First word is live. Second is year. Year. Okay. Yes, that's what I thought. Sorry. I mean, I just played it, but I was focusing so much on that sound. So 1 second here. I'll replay it for you guys. And again, listen between the 2 words. The sound is what's so unique. And as I've done it in the here's an exhale into a microphone. Okay. There's a different dynamic to the sound that he's recorded, and I'm not sure what it is, but it seems to have more of emotion attached to it, and I can't explain. And I have the benefit of hearing it through headphones, and you're getting a rebroadcast version of it, so maybe it's not quite as dynamic for you, but that's what I'm hearing. But again, I'll play it again, ladies and gentlemen.
Live. Year.
Now that is interesting. There's like a high pitch part of that sound, and I just caught that now. It's like a real high pitched part of it. It's not just. It's like, like there's a higher tone in there that I find really interesting. I'm going to play it one more time. I'll try to cue it more towards where that sound is, but here we go.
Live. Year.
Now, after the word year, I'm actually hearing something as well. But MCAT, if you're in the YouTube, you'll have to let me know. There sounds like a much quieter version of that, as if maybe it was further away from the mic on just after the word year. So let's listen to that one more time. And and for those of you on YouTube, you can see my hand cues. Those of you that are listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, of course you can't. But just listen after the word year, and you're going to hear a second tone that's much lighter, and you hear the running of the truck engine as well. But that's an identified sound, and he's familiar with the sounds of his truck. So, don't say things like air brakes or whatever, because I'm sure he can identify that by without that. But here we go. Here's a second or another run through.
live, year,
Yeah, there is a second note on there, or a second sound. It might have just been an adjustment by him. Let me look at the chat and see if he said anything. I'm not even sure if he's in here right now. Oh, yeah, he's in here. Okay. All right, so I'm looking through the chat line and seeing if he's made a comment about it. I don't see anything yet, but okay, I'm just reading through the comments, and yeah, it's like a whoosh. Another YouTube listener saying it's like a whoosh. Let me check the TFR chat and see what people are saying. You guys hearing that at all? Oh, hey, Drone, good to see you. B rent. Sounded like air brakes on a big truck. I knew that would be out there, and it makes sense. But of course, I know that MCAT is a very stand up kind of guy. He's not going to try to just send some crap here and let us do that. I'm sure he knows the sound of his own truck, but it is very, very unique sound. One of which I'm not really sure of. Sounds like Lucky says sounds like he's breathing out with the letter F. Yeah, maybe that's the sound is just in more of a consonant sound like that. But yeah, very interesting. And let me check the YouTube chat again to see if we have any update. Like whoosh. Reminds me of Horses Exhale. Diana Daniels Orcutt says, yeah, that's an interesting take on it too. Yeah, Orochimaru, spirits can drain batteries from cell phones. Yeah, and not only cell phones, but any kind of battery-powered equipment, spirits drain that energy quite often. It comes up in a lot of investigations for researchers. That's why our other paranormal investigator tied to the show, Dan Pruitt, the name of his his blog is Red Eyes and Dead Batteries, and I think the dead batteries is a play on the fact that not only is it long and late, but that they drain the batteries. So, MCAT. I hadn't heard anything after the second word. Okay, in the truck. It was taken in the truck, and that's about all we got. But yeah, I just think it's really interesting, and thank you so much for sending that in. I love it when you guys send in things that you're experiencing, and if you have that kind of evidences or proof, I'd love to see it, and we can certainly discuss it on the show as well. But thank you, sir. I appreciate your ongoing contributions to the portal. You are a gentleman and a scholar. All right, so yeah, it was in his truck. It's MCAT in the chat room. So he said I would have noted air brakes discharging. Yeah, I know you would, but as you can hear the truck, of course, some people are going to jump to that because it is a natural explanation for a sound such as that. But I know your brakes. So all right, so thanks again for sending that in. Now, let's see, where else are we? All right, we got about 7 minutes before the break. So we'll get into a little bit of this in regards to our discussions. I think that's, if you want to know, you want to look up what kind of activity is going on in the UFO phenomena. The best place, and there may be others, and I don't know many of them personally. I don't investigate the UFO stuff on a personal level as much as the Bigfoot and spiritual stuff. That's to me is, even though I have seen a UFO, I've experienced this phenomenon myself. I don't like to repeat my stories, but for the sake of the show and the fact that we always have new listeners, there is a bedtime story from beyond in our YouTube catalog, it's called A Walk in My Shoes, where I highlight several of my own personal paranormal events for you guys because I don't like to repeat them over and over on the show. But the one time, the most profound time, and the first time that I ever saw a UFO, I was staying in a cabin, a friend of mine's house that he had bought, and he had just fixed it up, and he hadn't quite moved in yet. But I was in town in this very area that I'm living now, which is in the north of Idaho, a town called Sandpoint. I was out in his house is out in the mountains. It's out away from civilization. It's quite remote. But I was there, and he had a pair of night vision binoculars, and I thought it'd be great to go out and look at the night sky. It was really clear that night. There was a little bit of a moon out, so there was some ambient light. But I thought it'd be neat to go look at the stars. Most of the stars in our night sky are actually red, and as they're red stars, they're not as visible or hardly visible to our eyes at all. So the infrared, of course, would pick those up. And so I went outside and was looking at the night sky, just absolutely fascinated and just unbelievable. I couldn't recognize constellations. That's how many more stars there were looking at it in night vision than my normal eyes. So I was looking around, and of course, I thought it was really fun to be playing with night vision binoculars because, I'd never really played with them before. I'd never had an opportunity to experience seeing night vision binoculars. So I'm looking all over. Now, the house was situated on the side of a mountain, and down on the bottom is a stream. It's a creek, and then the other opposing mountain goes up just across the creek. So I'm on the side, I'm on the porch of the house, and I'm looking around these night vision binoculars. I look over to the opposite mountainside, and I'm just marveling at the fact that I can see all the trees and stuff, and how cool is that? Like I said, there was ambient light, so I knew I could see some features, but in the night vision, it was just amazing. And there were only 4 power binoculars. They weren't, severely, amazingly distant powered binoculars. So they were pretty minimally magnified. But I was looking around, and then I panned over to the side of the mountain that the house was on and that I was on, and I looked down the driveway, and of course, without the binoculars, it was just a black mass. I mean, it was just you're on a mountainside full of trees and stuff, and so, looking down a driveway, it was just a black, wall. And then looking with the night vision binoculars, and I could see all the way down. It was really cool. And then I panned up on some of the trees in that same driveway, and I get above the tree line, and about 30 feet above the trees, not maybe 200 yards away, maybe 200 or 300, right in that range, there was the proverbial UFO. And it was sitting there above the tree lines, not a sound. The night was absolutely quiet because it was like really either late fall, no, it was early spring when I saw it. And there wasn't, the ambient insect noise or anything. It was still pretty chilly. But there it was, the two pie plates separated by these panels, and these were light panels, and light was flashing around them in a circular motion, and it was just sitting there motionless. And I was just stunned. I was absolutely just incredibly shocked to be seeing this with my eyes, my own eyes. But I was doing it through the night vision binoculars, and I'm looking at it, just marveling, just can't believe my eyes. And so I'm like, I got to see this with my own eyes. So I lower the binoculars, looking at the same place, and there's nothing there. I couldn't see it. I put them back up. I could see it clear as day. Put them down. There's nothing there. And as I said, there's ambient light, so I can see the treetops without the binoculars. I can see the night sky and the stars shining through, but I can't see the flying saucer. It's not there. When I hold up the binoculars, it is there. So it just dawned on me, my God, they can cloak. They can make themselves invisible. And I'm seeing this. It's real. And I was just absolutely just beside myself. And then suddenly it dawned on me. If I'm looking at them and I'm about the only thing going on in this whole valley, then chances are they're sitting there floating looking at me. And I was like, oh, okay. And I decided that was enough. That was as real as I wanted the experience to be. And I decided to go in, shut the doors, lock the doors, and I just sat on the bed. It was pretty late at night by this time, and I was just sitting there for hours. I had to sleep, but I couldn't. And finally, I did end up going to sleep, and nothing else happened. No weird experiences, no abduction that I'm aware of, no probing or anything. As far as I know, that was the end of the experience. But I have seen similar things, not similar. That was the most profound sighting of all. But I have seen other things that I can't explain either. So for me, the phenomenon is absolutely real, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have a question of is it possible. I know it's possible. I know what I'm seeing. And due to the fact that it was cloaked, I didn't believe that it could be some advanced technology of ours. I didn't believe that it was some kind of black project. I just don't think that we could be at that level yet. I mean, there may be these silent running craft that we can create, but not that can disappear and not appear except for in the infrared spectrum. So for me, it became absolutely real that night, and it was an incredible experience. And it was like after that experience, I'd seen more such things in the night sky, and but nothing as profound as that. The only other thing I saw was after this experience, I had to buy the night vision binoculars myself, even though they were kind of expensive. It was worth it to me, and I have seen in the same area in the house I'm in now. I saw the underside of one of a saucer-like craft go over, but it was much further away, and they went right over. So I don't know. Maybe they're watching me. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I know they're real. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head to our first break for the night, and I don't see any calls on the board yet, but the call board is open. Just as I said that, Nace called in. So Nace, I'll get to your call on the other side, brother. We're going to take a break here, and hope you have a good break, but I'll meet you on the other side, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away.
people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host of the Paranormal Portal, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're enjoying the run so far. We've been discussing UFOs and alien, the paradigm of such things, and I hope you guys like that topic. It's something that I don't mean to imply I'm not passionate about it. I certainly am, but it's one of those fields that there are so many ideas about it. From people channeling spirits from faraway stars to, the actual people that see them and experience them, to abductees, to, conspiracy theorists. I mean, the alien topic is so diverse and so broad, and, it's one of those things that it's kind of hard to figure out what it all could be because of all of the differing ideas about what it is. Some people have a real negative idea of what it is, that they're here, or there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. And, I know Jim has shared his thoughts on that with us. And I think it's incredibly, interesting and plausible and possible. I don't know, I think that, I could totally see that happening. That if they were here, as with the Eisenhower Accords, did they get a secret agreement with the U.S. government to conduct testing on a limited number of people in exchange for technologies and creatures and all that stuff? I don't know. It's possible. Phil Schneider, his incident in the Dulce base in Dulce, New Mexico, or if it was, I think it's New Mexico. Yeah. Sorry, just a sec. There we go. I've cleared it. But I think that there certainly is a lot of evidence or a lot of alleged evidence that seems to imply that could very well be the case. I just don't pretend to know. Again, we're in this modern age of information, but the information it's in its rawest form. You're getting hyperbole, supposition, suspicion, and outright hoaxing and lies, and then there's truth and people that are really trying to raise awareness and bring this into the understanding of everybody. And so, in this information age that we're in, the problem is not getting information. The problem is being able to filter the information. And how do you do that? Well, the only way you can really do that is through your own paradigm. What do you believe is possible? Is this possible or BS? And who's right and who's wrong? I don't know. But that is the issue. And that is, of course, due to the fact that information is flowing more freely now than ever before in history. And that's amazing, because I think knowledge also flows more freely now than ever before in history. And maybe that accounts for a lot of the advances we've made and how much progress we have made going forward. But again, it's a learning curve, because as the good things of this information, and there's bad things about it. Of course, propaganda is more easily dispersed now than ever before, and the audience reach of that propaganda is bigger than ever before. It's not just regional audiences of a newspaper or a television program anymore. It's global. So a lie can certainly spread all across the world. A lot easier now than ever before, but then again, so can the truth. But the interesting part is, how do you figure out which is which? And I wish I knew. I wish I knew. So anyway, I know we have a call on the board. Mr. Naysay is calling us, so let's hear what he's got on his mind tonight. Mr. Naysay, welcome to the show.
Hi, my brother from the same mothership, Earth.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, and sorry about the disruptive in the text messages there.
Oh,
But
okay.
I was hanging out with my kids and listening to the show in my ear, and I make a comment to my daughter, and I say, "Don't let your older sister diminish what you are saying." And I said it exactly at the same time that you said it on the air when you said diminish earlier.
Oh, really?
And then I said to myself right after that, wow, am I supposed to call in? And then you say yes in my ear. And so then I sent you the text message. So here I am.
Wow.
And this is absolutely one of my most precious and dear to me, because over my experiences in this existence, I've had my share of WTF.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
And so I wanted to bring in a little bit of my experience of it.
Okay.
And from my background, dealing with Gulf War illness / syndrome, when I was trying to do the research of why I'm sick, it was on the same shelves as UFOs. And so I got caught up into UFOs too, because it is something that I really enjoyed, especially way back in the day with Leonard Nimoy and In Search of, and the UFO episodes, and Star Trek and Star Wars, and what is beyond where we're at right here, and how could there not be something beyond? And when you talk about all the stars that you witness and the mathematical possibilities of life being elsewhere, and life not as we know it, but who knows, maybe on some other planet, the reptilians developed into the ultimate species as we are here on Earth, or the gerbils, or hopefully, as I wish, the duck-billed platypuses, or platypi.
Sure. It's possible.
But, well, I get delighted to think that there's an extraterrestrial group that is coming here, and out steps duck-billed platypuses with higher intelligence than us.
That would be an interesting,
which is an easy argument.
Wonder how they talk though if they can't shape words. I don't know.
Right?
Just occurred to me. I don't know.
The one that I really want to share has been the newest revelations that I've had only in the last 20 years. But when I was estimated between 5 and 6 years old, we had a cul-de-sac up and just over the hill where I lived in North St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay.
And all of the kids used to play in the cul-de-sac, and we could all play there. And once the sun started going down, we had to get home. And one night there was probably about 6, 7 of us kids all there at the cul-de-sac. And beyond the cul-de-sac was undeveloped field and a pond and the woods beyond that. And all of a sudden at one time, I remember turning around quickly, and there was one of the girls just standing there with this bizarre look on her face. And just as I didn't catch her attention, but as soon as I caught notice of her face, she screamed and then pointed. And then we all turned, and we all looked at the lake, or the pond, and we all were just silent. I remember everybody was silent. Nobody said anything. And then I don't remember if I heard it out loud or in my head, somebody said, "Run." And all those kids took off running.
You all heard the same thing?
And it was like we all bolted at the same time. And like nothing was said. And as soon as we all started running, some of the girls started, I love it when I get the goosebumps of the memories, when all the girls started screaming as we're running, and I couldn't remember because I wasn't afraid. I remember that, but I'm running with the rest of the group and with my older brother.
Right.
Then that night, I had a nightmare about the cul-de-sac. And it got to the point of where I got so fearful at dusk time that my parents would walk me up to the cul-de-sac and show me there's nothing unusual. Look at the pond and everything. And then we noticed other families in the block were doing the same thing, that the other kids also were freaked out or weirded out about the cul-de-sac and dusk time. And I remember that there was other families were walking up there with the kids, and we were all hanging out at the cul-de-sac, and they were just saying see, it's just a pond. There's nothing wrong with it. Well, it must have been in the either very late 90s or the early 2000s when I caught a William Cooper, I can't remember if it was a video or an audio, but he was talking about back in the 70s, the early 70s, where a lot of people were claiming that the UFOs were being witnessed above lakes and ponds, and that it seemed to look like they were sucking up water.
Oh, okay.
Now, to paraphrase it, or to step back a little bit, when I kept telling my parents, when they kept saying, what are you freaking out about the pond for? What's the deal? And I kept telling them that I witnessed something coming up out of the water that was enormous.
Wow.
And that's what I said. Some of the other kids were saying that they saw something go into the water, and the other kids, all the kids had different interpretations of what they saw, but they all claimed the same thing, that there was something in the water or something came out of it or something went into it, and it was scary.
Wow.
And so when I heard William Cooper say this about the water thing, it was like one of those deja vu moments when all of a sudden in my head, it wasn't quite the classic UFO, but it was the kind of fatter one that, oh my God, I just forgot his name. The guy with the one arm in Sweden or Norway. Oh, geez, what is his name? But the guy got phenomenal images of UFO crafts. And it reminds me of those crafts of what my memory came back to me.
Okay.
And so this is, I don't know. To this day, I really can't say 100% positive that it was this or that or the other thing.
Right.
But this is kind of my gut instinct or my thoughts that we may have witnessed. And I thought about that because a couple of them I'm still friends on Facebook. And so I've always thought about it when I come across their name, to ask them, do you remember this occurrence? Because there was, I would say probably about 8 to 10 kids there. So you'd think out of all of them that some of us would remember such a thing.
Yeah. Do they?
And well, I keep thinking of asking them, but I don't do it because they already think I'm bizarre enough
Well,
with my post.
You're all in at that point. You might as well just go for it. It's like a poker game. You just push the pile all in, and wherever it ends up, it ends up.
Right, but I do agree with you that in my investigation on it, that there is some type of accordance or some kind of rule or something that these entities are in league with the powers that should not be. And I would even go so far as my belief is when you go back into the ancient scripts and you hear the Nephilim and the Anunnaki and the gods, lower G gods, that at some point they may have crashed on the earth and they live forever, and in their living forever there's only 9 of them left, and all 9 of them, one is on each continent. and they're always jockeying. That's that's the whole. This is my belief, of course.
Sure.
And I believe these supernatural beings are still in existence, and there's an accordance, because just like we have boundaries and borders, I imagine the extraterrestrials or the aliens have the same accordance, because there's always a bigger fish. If you look at the microcosm and the macrocosm,
Mm-hmm.
if you look into the microscope and you think of germs and viruses and bacteria, it's the same thing. If they can dominate another cell, they will.
Right.
So the macrocosm, if there is someone with a bigger stick or a bigger weapon, which I think what has happened in our past, because when they talk about the gods or the deities of Greeks and the Romans and the Egyptians and then the ancient Babylonians, you can see how they correlate with the heavenly bodies of the planets.
Sure.
And I would even dare to venture that 4 of our planets are harboring life, not as we know it. And I do think that some of these abductions, like in the Total Recall scenario,
Mm-hmm.
that they've actually abducted people and they are mining the moon or Mars or some other planet,
Right.
or even in some type of cryogenic state for the integrity of mankind,
Excuse me.
of our existence.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have heard about that mining the moon thing, and I think it's helium-3. Is that what they find up there? I can't remember.
Alternative 3 is what it was called, about the moon base and the bases on Mars.
Sure, but I think that's a lot of. I've heard scientifically that people have said that there is abundance of helium-3 on the moon, and that could be what they're up there to get. What did you call it? Abundance 3 or alternative 3 rather?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the materials and the resources on the moon are incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. And they found this from the alleged moon rocks that they've found, and also the irony of how we've found alleged meteorites that have come from Mars or have come from the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So like when the moon or Mars gets hit by an asteroid, that it will disperse a bunch of matter up into space, and then it, will hit the Earth. But what I was talking about is called Alternative 3, which is the elitist, or the powers that should not be, because of the direction that Earth is heading. That what do they do to keep on the continuity of mankind? And one of them were the deep underground military bases here on Earth. That was Alternative 2. And Alternative 3 was to mine and habitat, or create habitats on the moon and Mars.
Right.
And now, from my research, especially now with this new Space Force.
Okay, yeah.
Because we do have crafts that can go up into high atmosphere, up into the troposphere. We have those crafts already. We have emergency rescue crafts that can go and grab the people on Skylab or any of the shuttles at any time. They've had this probably for like the last 25 years. And we've just learned about it in, I think, the last 10. And I think it's called the Aurora, I believe is the class of the ship that is called. But, let me talk from my perspective. I was raised with the classic Little Green Man and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And with the amount of stars in the heavens and the number exponentially that continues as we find more and more of Earth-like planets, plus the planets that we don't understand where there could be life, it's hard to think that there's only one extraterrestrial out there. And then you hear about the Greys, and the insectoids
Yeah.
and the reptilians, and then you talk about the light beings and the Palladians
And the
and the
Nordics.
Syrians
The Nordics.
and the Nordics.
Yeah.
And I think the most number thrown out there now is 32 different entities.
Uh-huh.
And if you get an opportunity to research the different types of ships, I strongly suggest checking out Carlos Diaz and his plasma vortex ships,
Okay.
because there's some incredible, phenomenal videos out there about these plasma ships that just appear from nowhere.
Mm.
Like they just all of a sudden poof. And if you would question, are they dimensional, or are they sub-Earth?
Right.
This is the argument,
Sure.
but instead of arguing the fact that there are extraterrestrials, we get into the arguments about what type are they.
Right.
And as much as I would hope and wish that some of them are benevolent, I can guarantee you that there are some of them that think we taste like chicken and would rather just harvest us all up in one big old swoop.
Right. Well, isn't that a Twilight Zone episode where they were like these aliens appeared and people are like, oh yeah, they're gonna take us to their planet, and they gave out this this pamphlet or whatever, and finally they translated it just as the last people were boarding, and it said it was a menu that people were on. It's like,
Right?
no.
The episode was called "To Serve Man."
Oh, there you go.
That was the specific episode that you're talking about. But a really interesting is Colonel Corso and his book, what is it called? The Day After Roswell,
Mm-hmm.
where Colonel Corso, he claimed to have been given some of the artifacts that were recovered from the Roswell crash, and he was to introduce them to corporations that would back engineer it, and they would use it to fund their black ops and also give the corporations, which usually were ex-military or ex-government people anyway.
Right.
And so then they would also get the new advancement. This allegedly is where we got night vision goggles and the fiber optic and the microchip processor and aluminum, so if they can transverse the galaxies, then, our technology to that is
Right.
is just, we're throwing rocks.
Right.
And they're having lasers.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at even our weaponry, like for instance, our guns. Okay, all they do is they take a sharpened piece of metal, and it's the same gunpowder phenomena that's been going on since ancient China. We just charge up that, we give it kinetic force through the explosion of gunpowder, and it shoots out a barrel and goes towards something. It seems to me that we should be so far ahead of all that, because that's hundreds and hundreds of years that the technology it has improved, but like we should at least be using portable rail guns by now or something. It seems to me that
But we are
portable.
We are in the Gulf War,
Uh-huh.
in the first Gulf War, and I don't know if we've talked about this before on our personal chats, but in the first Gulf War, they were using pulse weaponry. If you think about the principle about two magnets,
Yeah.
when you try to push them together and they repel each other,
Right. Right.
well, if you have a handgun that has a good enough source of energy that can create a pulse
Right.
of that energy, then in the barrel or in the crystal works the best, it would focus that beam of energy out the barrel through the crystal, and thus you have your laser beam or your sound beam, because a laser is just basically a light beam, which has been like a light bulb. You took all the light from the light bulb and put it into one little focused beam.
Yeah.
So the technology is there, but it's this whole thing of the powers that should not be do not want to give up their old ancient technology if they can still make money off it.
Yeah, yeah, and I understand. I mean, I don't believe that we know. Even you, when you were serving, you probably didn't know the extent of what was capable as far as military advancement. But it just seems to me that we should be seeing something new. I mean, we're using the same engine design as we've used for a couple hundred years now, and it's like but our computers used to fill up entire buildings, and now it fits in the size of a smartphone or a calculator. I guess a smartphone is way more powerful than the early computers. It's like computers and that technology has just gone light years. But certain things like our reliance on fossil fuels and stuff never does. And I wish I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just like, if we do have those things, and I believe we do, why aren't they being made available? Why isn't it helping the human condition? Why, and if these things are out there, and this is a conversation I had with Jim as well, Jim Mount, who's a regular guest on the show, and he is a contactee and a researcher as well. But, it's like, why are they waiting? Why don't they, bring it down and make things better? And he said that in 2025 they will. That they're, that's the story that has been shared with him, that in 2025 that disclosure is coming, on their part. But it seems like that's so far away if that's the case,
Well, we've talked.
Hold on, Nase. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break, brother. But hold that thought. I will talk to you on the other side. But we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across just make sure that you're well fed.
and it's enlightened. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Hauntings can go on for years. Why, yes, they can. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are burning this Friday night away. I hope you're enjoying the journey and the dialogue, the discussion, the intrigue. Can't think of any more words to describe tonight's show, but it's always an amazing experience here on the Paranormal Portal, and you guys are what make it amazing. Thank you to all the people in the chat room. Diane, I would encourage them not to play with the Ouija board tonight. Just saying, but oh, that's funny. Diane is having a slumber party at her house. She's one of our chat mods in the YouTube chat, and of course the kids just want to whip out the Ouija board. Dope. I don't think that's a good idea. Just saying. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking tonight about the UFO alien paradigm, as it were. And right now I'm joined, of course, on the phone by our good friend and often guest on the show and contributor to the show, Mr. Naysay. Welcome back, sir, and thanks for calling in tonight.
Oh, no problem whatsoever.
So I interrupted
and,
you.
Diane.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
If I can say to Diane, don't let them play with the Ouija board. Let them utilize the tool of divination in a harmonious and respectful manner.
Ooh. So you're talking about charging it with intention, are you?
Well, yes. Always use caution.
Mm-hmm.
Always use safety procedures when, keep your arms and legs inside the ride while it is in full motion.
Absolutely.
So nothing wrong with being safe about it. But if I may digress to you, sir, good sir, a gentleman and a scholar, you are one of my grounding friends. And I hope you don't mind me definitely calling you a friend. But
of course not.
For the listeners, when Naysay starts going in the deep end and going down to the rabbit hole, he'll reach out and give Brent a call and be like, have you paid attention to this? And what do you think of this? Because I start getting a little fanatical as I go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, because I've been down so deep, I think I'm starting to feel that lava mantle heat.
I know.
But I thank you, sir, for being that blessing in my world, the light in my darkness.
Well, I thank you for that. That's really kind to hear, and it's of course you're a treasured friend of mine as well, and I do love our discussions and our talks, and it's always great fun, and it's always intriguing as well. I think we've had some pretty phenomenal discussions about just a number of things. And, it's fun to just think and follow the thoughts and see where they lead. It's kind of like having a portal show, except all the time, because I love that about this show is that, we may start with an idea of what the show's going to be about, but then the universe brings us the show that we're meant to have. It's kind of my take on it. So, and it's always a lot of fun. It's always really cool. But no, I appreciate it, and thank you for being in my world as well. You've made the portal a much better experience many times with your contributions and your being a guest and bringing your thoughts to the table. I certainly appreciate it, and your enthusiasm as well for the show has been really cool.
And also the chat room, hello and hi. Make sure you click the like button and share the portal with all of your friends. And so we can get those numbers up.
Mm-hmm.
So Brent gets the appreciation that he definitely deserves and the respect for what you keep doing, brother, because a lot of people enjoy it.
Well, thank
Me
you.
as what? But UFOs.
Wait a second. I want to say this
Right.
quick. I got a message, and this was really cool. And this is from a listener named Karen, and she said this idea, and I thought it was brilliant. She said, "Hi, Brent. Just finished listening to the Tonight Show, and I had a really good idea for you. And when you ask everyone to like the show, tell them it's a great way to tell, or it's a great way for them. Tell them it's a great way to remember which ones you have listened to." And I click like after watching an episode, so I know I have heard it. And just an idea. Have a great night. And that was really cool. A great idea. So, I mean, the like, of course, does serve a purpose for the show, and it definitely helps to advance the show on the YouTube rankings and all of that. But it also can be kind of a bookmark for you that if you like an episode and you're not sure if you've heard an episode or not, you can see if you liked it. I hope you all are liking every episode, but if indeed you do, then, definitely like it because it can, serve as a reminder of which ones you've watched and which ones you haven't. So thank you for that suggestion, Karen. I really appreciate it. Very cool. All right. Now UFOs.
That is a good suggestion.
Yeah, I thought so too. The floor is yours.
Well, I'll share with you another one of my most fondest experiences of the, UFO and the whole unidentified flying object. Excuse me. In 1995, on June 21st, I was fired. Well, it was kind of a mutual walking away when I was a cosmetologist.
Okay.
And I went home and I was in a crabby mood, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, let's drive up to Duluth from Minneapolis and just make a day trip of it." And so we head up to Duluth. We get to Duluth and we're like, "Hey, let's go up to Grand Portage." So we drive up to Grand Portage, and then we go to this thing called the Spirit Tree up at Grand Marais. And we're that close to the border. We're like, why not? Let's go to the border, and we can say we went to Canada.
Okay.
So we go to the border, and we're hoping that there's another store open on the other side of the border to get like a postcard or something, but the stores were closed. And so we're like, how close is the next town? So we say, all right, let's go to Thunder Bay, Canada.
Oh, I love that name.
So we get all the way there, right?
Yeah.
We get all the way there. We get a postcard, eat breakfast at an all-night diner, and then we start heading back. Well, on the way there and on the way back, the main highway was under construction, so we were having detours on higher managed log or timber roads.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm driving down this road, beautiful, absolute beautiful ride, day or night, up to in the Boundary Waters and the Arrowhead region and up into Canada. And we're driving on this road, and she has kind of a little sportier car, two-door car. And I remember up in the top left corner of the windshield, I saw something. And then I started slowing down, leaned forward to the steering wheel to look up, and then there was this orange light that all of a sudden, the minute I saw it, it was like a distance away. And then once it's like I really saw it, it instantly came closer.
Ooh.
And it literally like illuminated the forest.
Okay. Wow.
My friend who's the passenger, she starts like, what is that? What is that? And I pull over to the side of the road, and I roll down my window, and I stick my head out the window, and we're looking up at this huge sphere. All of a sudden, I remember, while my head is out the window, I reach and grab the headlights. And this is the older cars where you pull them and push them.
Okay.
And I grab the headlights, and I'm pushing them off and on. And then she's like, what are you doing? And I said, I want them to know we're here. And then she's like, no, don't. And then when she freaked out, all of a sudden it freaked me out. And the minute that I got scared, that thing took off so fast away from us that it literally looked like a pennant flag waving in the air, but going straight up into the sky.
Oh,
it goes straight up into the sky, and then it just sits there. And then from across the sky from the east comes another light. I think it was yellow, but not the quite like oranger color as the first one. Comes streaking across the sky. The two in tandem do kind of like a half curve move, and then start slowly to take off towards the west, and then just zip, gone.
Wow.
And then we're just sitting there. We're like, did you, you know, we're both like, oh my God, you know, and we're trying to like, you know, what is it? And so then we're arguing, well, not quite arguing, but we're discussing for the next 30 minutes, because we have about 30, 40 minutes before we get to the border.
Okay.
And we're like, do we ask them or tell them of what we just witnessed?
No. You mean at the border?
And she was, yeah, when we had to come back across into the United States.
Do you have anything to
and
declare?
We just came across.
Yeah, I just saw a UFO. I'm declaring that. You might be staying in. You might be staying in Canada. You might be staying in Canada a little longer than you planned.
That was actually my thought too. I'm like, let's not say a single thing about it, and just take it as our happy memory of what happened, because we just went into Canada like 3.5 hours ago, and they're gonna be like, why are you in Canada for 3.5 hours coming back, and now you're talking about UFOs?
Now the interesting thing, and Dee Swagger in the chat room brought this up on YouTube. She said, according to Jim, who's the gentleman I mentioned before, and I'm sure you probably heard Jim on the show before, Nase, but he's a contactee as well as a researcher, and he's talked about the orbs and the colors, and of course blue and green are good, and red means they're on like a hunter-kill mission, but orange means they're searching for a threat. So that's probably why it was zipping all over, and that's a pretty cool correlation. It was searching, it was looking for something that they must have detected, and so you were kind of in a front row seat to maybe an interstellar incident.
Well, I mean that sounds really interesting. My fondness, I believe that I have an absolute fondness for orange, like caution orange. Mm-hmm. Like I've always, and I remember. Do you remember the Hare Krishnas that used to be in the Minneapolis airport all the time?
Well, I never saw them there, but I heard about them. Yeah.
Right. Well, sometimes they would wear like those, like the Buddhist monks in the orange robes and stuff.
Yeah, and beads.
And I remember at a real young age going to the airport and picking up a relative, and either it was like a monk or one of the Hare Krishnas, and they had that brilliant caution orange, like hunter orange, and I just was enamored with it. Right. And so it's been like a favorite color like my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, that sounds really interesting about the orange thing, because one thing that I'll share, since I like to share new things every time I'm on with you, and I think we've talked about that. But when you ever want to do a show about implants,
okay, yeah,
we can start talking about Naysay's naysays maybe implants,
Oh,
unless you want to go into one right now.
well, that's probably fodder for a different show, but yeah, that would be kind of cool to discuss. We'll definitely have that discussion for sure, brother.
Right. Well, I'll give you a call later on this week, and I'll share some of those stories with you. But you know, the only thing that I can say overall, and I'll let you get to your stuff, sir.
Oh, no.
And thank you for giving me the time to share.
Absolutely.
But whether or not these entities are benevolent or evil, we may or may not have any control of that whatsoever. The only control we have is over our own entity. And as we're going through our existence, trying to find out these answers and finding the questions, we have to be the choice to be part of the Holy Trinity, as I've stated many times, positive, neutral, or negative. And it's so much easier to be positive, but if you can't be positive, at least if you're being negative, or at least if you're being neutral or finding balance, then you aren't feeding into the negative. So see where you have the ability to find neutrality or balance if you can't find the giggles. And if you need to find the giggles, just find the closest mirror.
All right.
Because
excellent.
Because there's definitely giggles for all of us. And thank you again, Brent, for everything you do for us.
Oh.
And keeping me up late at night.
It's my pleasure. I've been keeping you up late for a long time now, but less late now that I'm on an earlier time slot. So that's working in your favor.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, brother.
Absolutely.
Well, have a wonderful
night.
I will
talk to you later.
Thank you for calling in.
All right, toodles.
All right, and we got another call here, and this is Miss D. Swiger. Miss Diane, how you doing?
Hey, Brett.
Hi.
How are you doing? I haven't called in a while, so I just had to.
Well, you're going to be on the show.
How you doing?
You're going to be on the show pretty soon. You're going to be on.
I know I am.
15th.
I heard that the one of the shows that I missed, Sean told you about some of our adventures.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very interesting and powerful.
Yeah, I'm looking for, if anybody knows anybody who really knows the West Coast well, I'm looking for where to land over there.
Oh.
I think I want to go in that direction. So just putting it out, if somebody knows where over there would be a perfect place for someone like me, let me know.
Well, cool.
But
absolutely.
that's where I'm thinking of heading. But basically, I was going to say about the since we're talking about specifically about UFOs and the alien paradigm, I just want to say that I feel that we really got to somehow get everybody up to speed and beyond. Now, you can believe whatever you want to believe. However, I think it's really high time that we get beyond asking if we are not alone and just realize we're not alone and start trying to understand how we proceed now that we know there are just way too many witnesses to this. And it should be really blatantly obvious that everybody's so conditioned that it can't possibly be.
Yeah.
But there are going to be some very far-reaching implications to this.
Yes, there are.
Somehow we've got to get past this questioning if and go into, okay, now what are we going to do about this? Because obviously, if there is more than just us here, and it's really obvious there are cryptids of all kinds, there are other interdimensional things, there are other interplanetary things, there are maybe inner Earth things. That's probably true too, because enough people have seen that too. Yeah. So what are we doing sitting here asking if? I mean, if this were a court of law, somebody'd be convicted by now. Millions of witnesses.
Yeah. Well, what would you suggest then? Okay, so if we're not questioning if, then what is next then? So, for instance, in the case of the
I think we've got to start. I'm sorry, I didn't want to.
No.
Talk over you.
Go ahead. Just continue your thought, because either way, you're answering it.
Okay. The thing is that we've got to start educating ourselves as much as possible. And I know it's hard to decide and find who's really telling the truth and who really knows something and who's just making it up sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think we've got to start educating ourselves on how we're going to communicate, how we're going to deal with the fact that they are here. And I know that there are things that we need to protect ourselves from, but this is a big universe. We've got to start thinking on a more global scale about this. We've got to also think on a personal scale, how are we going to greet them?
Did I lose you? Are you there? Let me check the call board. What happened? Oh, it still shows that she's there, but I don't know. She hung up on us or something by accident. But Dee, if you're hearing my voice, you'll have to call back in. I'm sorry, but somehow we got disconnected, or you muted your phone somehow. You might have muted your phone. But I'll just keep that live, and if she figures it out, we'll get back to our discussion. But another thing I wanted to point out, ladies and gentlemen, and I mentioned it a little bit ago, but is this, and I'm going to move it over to the other screen here so you guys can see it. But what I'm showing you on the map right now is MUFON's sightings map, and I've noticed it doesn't refresh real, like this all over here in Europe. Let me make sure I got both screens on. Yeah, all the way over here in Europe and Africa, the north of Africa. You only see a couple of them, but if you of course, zoom in, then you get more of them. But you can see these clusters of report. Now, what I thought was interesting when I was looking at this, ladies and gentlemen, was if you look down here at Australia, an interesting thing happened. And I'm not really familiar with Australia, ladies and gentlemen, so I don't mean to embarrass myself in that way, because I'm always geographically challenged. But all of the sightings in Australia seem to be happening along this east coast and along below that southern part. But over by Perth, there doesn't seem to be anything. And, there's a couple just in Perth. But now that could be due to population density. So for instance, they may not be isolated to one region of Australia, but the population density is higher along this eastern coast. There's Brisbane and Sydney and other places down here. So of course those are more populous and more people are seeing it because there's more people present. But you get to the middle here, and I don't know. Oh, geez, what am I doing? You get to the middle, and it's hard to see much of anything going on unless you zoom way in. And I imagine that has to do with population density. But the neat thing about this site, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is the site for this is UFOstalker.com, UFOstalker.com. And if you click on one of these, like let's say for Brisbane, it brings up a pop-up. And the sighting occurred 2018, January 1st. And it was submitted on December of 2018. But it's not a UFO sighting. I don't know what it says. I guess you can click on it to get more information. But so if you click on it, it's not a UFO sighting. I've been implanted. That's funny that I would click that one, because that was just what Nase and I were talking about. And I believe my kids and my dog as well. I have encounters every day and night for the past 9 months. I'm in need of help ASAP. I have guave scalar, and they're still in the house and in my body. And I don't know what guave scalar is, but it doesn't sound good. But it's really interesting that you can do that. You can look through this interactive map, and this is the U.S. Right here. And, of course, Not nearly as many sightings that are showing up here, and I don't know why. And maybe it's a zoom in issue. Yeah, and then more of them pop up around Denver. There's several over around Oakland. There's several, but it's a really neat site if you want to check out some of these. And some of these are historical. You know, these are historical as well. If you look up by Seattle, in the Washington area, here out by the Olympic Peninsula and into Vancouver, there's quite a cluster there along the west coast. Now, if over here in this region is where I am, and there's hardly any, but this is where I've had two. The first very profound sighting, and let me zoom in a lot more. Oh, we're over by Spokane here. There's more. So I guess the more you zoom in, the more you hear about them. But there is another one here in our area, and I just want to read this one. And this occurred in 2015. Trailing light behind space. Let's see. Oh, I don't know what the hell happened. So, anyway, I just wanted to point this out to you guys because if you're interested in studying the UFO phenomena and to hear some of the reports, this is linked on the MUFON site as well. But we're going to take our last break, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be right back. But again, this is UFOstalker.com. Definitely check it out, and you can click on these sightings and learn so much more. But don't go away, and we'll get back for the last half hour of our show tonight. I'll be here waiting. and gentlemen. I'm back again. This is the Paranormal Portal. I'm Brent Thomas, your host, and we are in our last half hour. I saw we had a call on the board from Australia that I was going to answer, but then it disappeared. It came on during the break time, but it must not have worked. So I don't know what happened, where they went, but I'm going to see if Diane is back. Diane, are you there?
Yeah, I am back.
Where'd you go? What happened?
Wow. Get your questions ready for next week, because I'm going to be on next week and be able to do something for you next week. So if you have anything about what you want me to talk about, let me know.
Well, I want you to...
What happened is my phone and my modem are both on the same company, so if something happens with them, something happens with both of them.
Oh, okay,
So,
gotcha.
something happened with that.
Uh-oh. Well, you were talking about what do we do next, and then you had a few sentences, and boom, you were gone.
Wow. Maybe I ought to do like Cliff High was doing and said, we're just talking about a role-playing game here. This isn't real, right? We're just talking about a game. I mean, Cliff High came up with that on his show. It was really funny. It's like, I thought of that years ago. We had a code way of talking about these things. We just pretended we were talking about a role-playing game.
Mm.
And the funny thing is, I wanted to mention anybody who's ever been bawled out for reading comic books or watching science fiction or any of that geeky type stuff that some of us do.
Mm-hmm.
If you have been bawled out for that, especially like playing games or whatever, I realized the other night when I was talking to Sean, about this last gig we did,
uh-huh.
I was saying, you know what, if it wasn't for science fiction and fantasy and role-playing games and all of that and all of these movies and TV and everything, we wouldn't even have a vocabulary to talk about this. We would be having to describe it all from scratch.
Yeah.
And how in the heck would we ever do it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a good thing because, honest to God, we saw, because all of us had played D&D, what we saw, we could all agree this thing was a cobalt. It looked exactly like a cobalt.
Sure.
With good armor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now how would we, and how would we know what a portal was and a wormhole and all of this other stuff?
Right.
Where would we get these? We've been fortunately been given these concepts, so now we can even talk about it. But what can we do about it? Well, I think it's just, for one thing, we've got to get ourselves on a level where, and whatever it takes for you to do this,
mm-hmm.
and maybe you have to play some of these nice solfeggio files or something to get yourself out of, first of all, fear, and maybe out of anger too, because people have actually died protecting these secrets.
Oh, sure.
And I'm sure there are people who, when it comes out, and this is probably why they're so reticent, is there be people when it comes out that are going to want to, have heads to roll and blood in the streets and everything when they find out that something like maybe a cure for cancer has been withheld, or people are needlessly suffering and dying, or that we're needlessly polluting the planet, or that we're, a dozen other things. But
sure.
We also, I think, have got to learn new ways to communicate. And the interesting thing that I saw somebody brought up is that these people tend to favor creative people like artists and singers and so on. The other, how can I say it? The other ones that are here tend to favor creative people, I think, because a lot of them are telepathic,
mm-hmm.
and it's easier to put pictures in your head and, give you, have a conversation that way. Some of them don't even bother to use words.
Mm-hmm.
Words are like not their way of, I happen to know that there are beings that I communicate with that they don't really use names, and they don't, they use actually energy um, signatures to introduce themselves. So you have to pay attention to what they feel like, what the energy, and if you're not used to sensing that, you're going to miss things, and you're not going to be able to tell whether it's really them or not. But the people that, and I believe they are people. I'll tell you why I trust. Some of you may see that it's, I'm calling it channeled only because I don't know what else to call it.
Okay.
Divine Mother and Father. I don't know what else to call it. I believe they may be ETs.
Okay.
They got ET or inner Earth. And in order to get yourself ready for that, you have to, first of all, get yourself in a good place. I mean, secure your house from, threats. I mean, you don't want to contact the negative stuff.
Right.
But the reason I trust them is they do not want to be worshipped. I think you've got to realize anything that wants you to worship it, anything that wants you to sacrifice to it, anything that wants that has to do with blood or dark forces, I would say stay well away from that. But as far as contact, you kind of have to become more sensitive and realize that you are sensing something and pay attention to what your gut says.
Right.
I wanted to also bring in that you can contact planets. There was somebody that was contacting planets, and they contacted the sun and the earth, and I guess a solar flare, a solar burst, is really going to happen, and that getting ready for that is in progress. So the latest that I have heard on that is if you are over, now this is from, I don't know how you feel about David Wilcock and Corey Good and Emery Smith, but it seems to me like it's so dangerous to come out and talk about this. They're not making a pile of money. They're not millionaires or anything, and their lives are always in danger. Seems to me like there must be some reason in whatever it is that happened to them and what is happening to them. I believe that they are trying to help. So I think one thing we have got to do is quit all the infighting. I'm going to make a video on this, I think. We have got to quit all this infighting with each other and saying, oh, you believe in giant blue chickens? Or, yeah, okay, well, Thoth was a giant blue bird, okay? You have just got to realize, okay, maybe everybody sees this different. Maybe nobody has the whole story. But we have got to get together on this. We have got to stop putting everybody else down and saying, no, you're wrong, my way's right, And we have got to see points of congruence, and then we have got to put it together and get ready, because the government is not going to do this for us. Right. There is no nanny going to do this for us.
Sure, good point.
We're going to have to put it together for ourselves.
No.
And so we had better start to learn to cooperate, because you know what? I'll tell you right now, when you cooperate, this is something I found out from finally working with a team, and this is really important. Finally working with a team, when I was working with Joel and Sean, I learned this more than anything, is that when you put your stuff together, now I've worked with groups before, but it was just never more apparent, that when you put your energy together, it isn't just 1 + 1 = 2. It's your energy becomes squared. When you have two of you, it's 2 times. Okay, it's like squared. When there's 3 of you, it just goes, it's cubed. It just goes up exponentially. This is why we don't need everybody to be aware. We don't need everybody to be on top of it. We just need a certain percentage of people to be on top of this.
Sure.
So choose yourself to do this if you have any inkling to do it, and get yourself educated with as much as you can. Throw out whatever you don't like for yourself, but allow other people and this is something you do so well, Brent.
Oh,
You're really pretty good at this, really. I gotta say, you're a pretty neutral host,
yeah, I try to
and
be.
that's good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I try to let
And
people talk and share their ideas because I think we all learn, even if my personal paradigm doesn't always fall in line with what everybody's saying. I love to hear it because it does cause me to think and
yeah,
consider. Yeah, and you can only grow by challenging
yeah,
your own beliefs. If you just sit in your own bubble with your own beliefs, you'll never develop and grow.
that's right. And so we've got to allow maybe we don't believe that, but
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they could be wrong, but they are bringing us information, and this is something I try to tell people: is any information, even if it turns out to be wrong. I don't know why people do hoaxes.
Yeah, I
Why
don't
in the
know.
heck do people do hoaxes?
I don't know.
It just
It's
obscures everything.
it's tragic. It's really
So
tragic. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'm showing the Brazilian helicopter footage that was released by the Brazilian government on the right pane of the video feed, and this is footage of another disclosure kind of thing for the military in Brazil. So if you watch that, pretty interesting. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I just thought I'd better identify what I was showing so people understood
Hey,
it. So.
that's your freaking show, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
But
that.
look, I'm trying not to be too serious here, but
No, serious is fine too.
honestly, I would love to see everybody just calm down, give everybody, just like we do on these shows, give everybody a chance, give everybody a listen.
Mm-hmm.
Even the flat earthers may have something. I mean, people really put down. I know somebody who is dating a flat earther, okay?
Sure.
I don't argue with him.
Sure.
I don't argue with him. Okay, you have a reason for feeling that way. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You have checked this out in your own way, and you believe this. Well, you know what? If we're in a simulation, they could all be right.
Yes,
They
exactly.
could all be right.
Mm.
I've been in simulations before. There are different little areas inside these sims where the rules are different. Maybe whatever little whatever thing he's looking through, whatever filter he's looking through, that is the way the world is.
Yes.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I just had another couple of Mandela effects happen to me. I'm not going to go into it right now, but I mean, I just had reality change a few more times just in the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, personal stuff too that shouldn't have changed. I mean, really weird. So, we're in a time now where reality is getting kind of shaky, and this stuff we're calling reality, maybe you get ready, it might get pulled out from under you at some point.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So just
and
don't
reality
be afraid that
reality changes as we grow as well. Our reality expands, and with that expansion comes possibility.
right. And our understanding, like when all of this stuff started out, I didn't know what to do about any of it. I didn't really. I mean, I was terrified, and I was telling Sean about it. There was a part of the Ohio Valley I would not drive through. I couldn't drive through it. It just wigged me out so bad. I didn't know. Well, I didn't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
See, I couldn't clear it. I didn't know how to clear it back then. And it was terrifying. And I had an abduction experience in that area.
Wow.
And it was and the whole thing was just terrifying to me. But when one of my friends who could see at the time drove through there, she had somebody else drive, because honestly, if you have sight, it can be quite dangerous to drive through an area like that, because stuff will come out in front of you, but it won't be real.
Right.
So it's like the Geico squirrels, only with ghosts.
Right.
Anyway, so she drove through there, and it was like, she said it was like paper dolls strung out all over the place. The spirits were. They were in the water. They were behind the trees. They were out in the middle of the road. They were, everywhere. It was terrifying. It was. She said if somebody else wouldn't have been driving, she wouldn't have been able to drive through there.
Oh, wow.
Now I know I could go and clear that, but back then there was just something in my gut that said, no, we're not driving down that road. We're not going there.
Yeah, exactly.
Noped out really bad. It's like, nope, I'm not going down this road.
Yeah.
So, if you're getting that in your gut, maybe you're not quite ready to handle whatever it is yet, just letting you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and see if I can get in touch with and do something new for you. I'm going to try and see if I can get in touch with some of the planets. I'm already in touch with Gaia from time to time.
Oh, cool.
And she has been really helpful. She says, please, I want you to know I'm not going to, I am not angry at the human race. I am not trying to kill anybody. It's just, and this is like a telepathic sense when I talk to her. She's actually very motherly. She loves us just like she loves everybody else on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And she is not angry at us. She is just saying, you guys have got to learn to A, use my systems that are already in place, and B, you have got to, if you want to survive all that's happening, you have got to push your awareness into an understanding of what is really going on here. I can only bring so much of that to you. She cannot. She says she's tried to come in dreams to people. If you have a motherly figure like that come into your dreams, I had her come into one of my dreams during a very dark time, and she's very motherly. She's very round. Everything about her. Her hair is curly. Her eyes are big and round. Her body is large and round. She's like a mom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I saw her.
Oh, nice.
And she was in a flower dress. She was in a dress with flowers, all different kinds of flora all over it. And so if you can get plugged into her vibe, she is doing what she can to protect us, actually. Don't think that she's mad at you. The wrath of nature is completely false.
Okay.
Storms exist to clean the place, okay?
Sure.
So it's an energy cleaning mechanism. Don't be afraid. That's okay. I'm going to leave it at that because you probably got other things to do. We're coming up on quarter till.
Yeah.
Okay.
Time goes flying.
Start thinking about what you want me to talk about next week.
Diane, I never plan a show. I love having discussions, and I'm sure with you and I that won't be a problem. But there's some things I do want to bring up. I want to bring up some things because I'm really interested in what your take is on them. But no, I don't like to map out shows. I just love to have organic discussions.
Well, I just mean, if there's something specific that you want me to concentrate, because you know me, I could go on for days.
I'm counting on it.
No, what do you want me to shine? What little section do you want this time?
Well, I definitely.
I could go on.
I definitely am going to want to discuss portals because I know that's your expertise and something that you're very knowledgeable about. So I definitely would love to have you discuss that because I think we would all gain from that discussion, that dialogue. So that's all I got planned.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's just your forum. So have fun with it.
The other thing is, I'll tell you right now, the portal we last dealt with was literally the strangest thing any of us had ever seen.
Yep, let's save that for
None
the
of
next.
us had ever seen at all like that.
We'll save it for the next show, but I am so excited to hear about that, all of that. Any minutia that you haven't mentioned about it, I'd love to know because that, of course, is close to me, and it sounds like it was an incredibly profound experience.
Oh, it was. It was. Like I said, it's like the energy of working with a team is entirely different than trying to do everything yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
I would be totally exhausted trying after I would do this. I'd be like tired. Yeah. And working with a team, it was like I wasn't tired. I was actually kind of hyped. I was kind of felt good. I actually felt better than when I started because when I started, I had some kind of food poisoning or something, And that's why I had come into it kind of late, and I noticed they were trying to get a hold of me.
Oh.
So, I'm like, and then afterwards I didn't have any trace of the food poisoning either.
Oh, good.
So it was kind of
Yeah,
we'll talk about that next. That's for next week.
Right.
I love you guys.
All
love
right.
you, Brent.
We love you
I
too.
love you all.
All right. Have a good
LD
night.
and Diana and Nacy and everybody. Lewis and Sarah and I feel like Miss Barbara.
All right.
I love you all.
All right. We love you too. And
Hugs,
ladies and
and
gentlemen,
you're my dreams.
Oh, thank you, my dear. And ladies and gentlemen, Diane will be on the show on the 15th. So next weekend, we'll be talking to her and see what we can get into. But definitely we'll discuss portals because, of course, it's the name of the show. And she's quite knowledgeable on the subject. So we'll see you then, my dear.
Thank you. Love you. Bye-bye.
All right. Love you too. See you. And that's the wonder of the show. And that's what's really cool about it is just having this community of people that are so passionate and knowledgeable and willing to share their thoughts and ideas about so many disparate phenomena it's so much fun, and it's so neat to have the ability to talk with all these people. I do want to mention this before the end of the show because it's something I was personally very proud of. Of course, you guys are probably aware that we had World Bigfoot Radio's Duke Sullivan on the show just recently. And the episode has done phenomenally as far as the amount of people checking it out. And I was like, wow, this one's really growing so much faster than other episodes by like quite a difference. And I was like, how is this happening? And I looked at my analytics, and I found out how. And I got to find it here so that I can put it up. Where in the hell did I put it? Oh my gosh, let me just pull up a new one. Hold on, because I had to message Don and tell him, but it was really cool. I was really honored. I was actually humbled by it, but let me see, where is it? Here it is. I'm going to pull this up on the screen for you guys to see, but we were actually on Sasquatch Chronicles, featured the episode there in the blog on the 3rd of February. And Wes himself apparently watched the episode and enjoyed it a lot. And that to me is really cool because I'm not only a fan of Duke's going back a ways, but one of the first personalities I ever heard when I was becoming really interested in Sasquatch and that whole phenomena, of course, was Wes Germer, who is the founder and host of Sasquatch Chronicles. And it's a phenomenal show, ladies and gentlemen. He is just the neatest guy. I've not met him. I've never talked to him in person, but I'm here to tell you he does such a great job. He's one of those guys that you could just talk to, and he does a great job of getting people on to share their experiences. And you can tell that a lot of people that come on the show, you can hear the emotion in their voice and you can feel it as they're reliving these experiences, but you can tell it's a very cathartic and healing process for them as well, to have that forum and that ability to discuss it. And it's just an amazing show. I've been listening to it for years, and I'm absolutely humbled to have been put on their blog. So thank you, Wes, if that was you. I'm honored. I heard you enjoyed the show, and that to me is about one of the greatest compliments that I could receive. So thank you very much for that, and that was really cool. So, and this site is so traveled. This site gets so much traffic. It is the premier show in the world for Sasquatch and Bigfoot phenomena, and they do an amazing job. And of course, Duke has a long, fantastic relationship with Wes as well, so that was excellent. But we're going to get Duke back next month as well. I was just talking to him. He's going to come back in the beginning of March, and we'll get that all ironed out, and I'll be sure to let you guys know when that will be as well. But just really cool. It's like, whoa, we're on there. So very cool, very cool. So I hope you guys don't mind, but it was one of the highlights of my week to see that. Just when you think about starting a show and stuff, and then to see that, people are noticing, it's just really an awesome experience. So. And again, I have you guys to thank for that, because you guys are spreading the word. You guys are sharing the portal with people Now, I was showing the videos before of the Brazilian helicopter footage coming out of there. I did want to take a couple minutes. I got to see how much time I got left. I got no time left. I did want to, but I'm not going to be able to, ladies and gentlemen. But please stick around for Nikki Colombo coming up next year on the portal. She's an amazing lady, and she is a UFO experiencer herself. And so if you're enjoying this discussion and want to continue it, or just, you like great entertainment, she's a wonderful person. So stick around. She'll be coming up next year on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. But to all of you out there, I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, and take care of each other. And Don will be joining me tomorrow, and we'll get into more of this paranormal mayhem that we so love and enjoy. So we'll see you then, guys. Take care. Have a wonderful night.